Hello and welcome back to another episode of LMS Cast. I'm joined by a special guest from across the pond. Her name is Kimba Cooper Martin. You can find her at kimbadigital.com. While you're over there, check out the freebies. You can find those on her menu of her site. But Kimba is an expert in gamification. We're going to get into how to make learning fun again and like all kinds of cool things you may not have thought about that you can do to make your courses and training programs more fun, more engaging. But first, welcome to the show, Kimba.
Oh, thank you for having me, Chris. I'm really, really glad to be here. I'm excited to nerd out with you about gamification.
Awesome. Well, we are definitely going to do that. Let's set the stage with an example. Instead of like a high level, like what is gamification question, let's just provide an example that people would know potentially from Duolingo. I know that's really relatable. Language learning is a niche within online education, and a lot of people have tried it or seen people doing it. What makes Duolingo fun, addictive, and compelling to continue with?
Oh, okay. Duolingo is a great example, but it's also kind of controversial.
Sure.
So I'm very excited to talk about this one. And I love to use it as an example because they use lots of different game elements. They steal lots of things from the game world and put them into their learning platform. So things like streaks, where you every day you log in, you keep a streak for a long time. I'm at 1,050 days with my Spanish streak, which is I don't know if that just shows that I've addicted or whether they're very good at what they do. They do things like friends quests, where you work towards small challenges with a friend, a small mission, which is very similar to the games world. They do lots and lots of different things: badges, rewards, leaderboards, all sorts of different things. The controversial part, though, is that I have known people to stop using Duolingo because it's over gamified.
Okay.
They joined it because they wanted to learn a language. And what happens is they end up with this massive feeling of stress. And like, I have to log in every day. I have to do X, Y, and Z. Or I'm competing because I want to get up to the Pearl League when actually what I want is to learn this language. And I know that for some people it is over gamified, but that's something really important to discuss as well, because adding gamification into whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's a course or a launch or a community, whatever it is that you're gamifying, it's really, really important to think, what is it that my users are hoping to get out of this experience every time you're going to add something, because that will hopefully avoid you doing what some perceive Duolingo to have done, which is over gamifying. Now, this comes down to personality type as well. So for me, I just avoid the features that I'm not interested in. I don't think about them. I don't worry about them. But for some people, they can't not think about those things. It's part of their nature that they want to tick all the boxes. They want to achieve all the things, even if that is at the detriment of what they actually wanted to be there for in the first place. So they are a really good example if you want to go and have a look and see some kinds of different mechanics being used, game mechanics, and just see how they get you to take more action than you might have wanted to anyway. Just play for that little bit longer. Just do that one more lesson that you might not have done if you weren't being gamified.
Well, let's drop into the psychology a little bit because gamification in many contexts is covered kind of topically. It's like, oh, well, you just want your people to have some dopamine and therefore they're going to be addicted and they'll keep coming back or whatever. But all of these things like streaks or leaderboards, they play on different psychology or just human desires. Like what's in this mix of the human mind that gamification taps into? And of course you could use it in a maybe not so ethical way, but done well, it's a beautiful thing. So there, you always have to be ethical, but like, what are we triggering in people's brains?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so that's two very big separate topics. So let's
Yeah.
cover one, and if I don't remember to come back to it, we'll cover the other one. Start with personality and psychology, and then we'll come back to ethics, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Personality and psychology, right? So gamification, I talk of it being a motivational tool, and it's not one thing. It's not as simple as, a mouse or a hammer or something where it's one object and it does one thing. Gamification steals things from learning and learning development, marketing, management. And the idea is that it improves on existing systems and processes to get better results. It is a tool, and it is a tool set more than one tool, I suppose. And those tools are best used for different personality types. Now, the way that I work and the way that my business works when we gamify things is we use Richard Bartle's player types. There's a gent called Richard Bartle. He wrote some player types in the 80s. I can't remember exactly which of the 80s, but in the 80s. And it was designed around video game player types. And he doesn't really like the fact that we all use it for gamification, but we do, so tough. So the 4 main player types that he talks about are achievers. So they are people who like to achieve things. They are motivated by achieving things. So that could be the people who love to get a badge. They're the people who love to get to the top of a leaderboard. I'm one of these. If you give me a sticker, I'm going to do more. I'm going to do more because I want to achieve that sticker. They like it when you get a title, when you achieve something, or a certificate. Next up is your socializers. These people aren't motivated by achieving. They don't care about achieving. They're there because they want to socialize with other human beings. They want to help other human beings. In a game scenario, they'd be the ones who would help someone else to achieve what they want to achieve because they're more interested in socializing and networking. Next one is explorer. These are your kinds of people who will spend time going all around the game world looking for hidden things. They want to know, they want the hidden experiences, the Easter eggs. They want the things that are not the most obvious. They're the ones who are going to be finding the cheat codes. They're the ones who are finding the way around. They are, what's that phrase? They're the grammar Nazis in your world. They'll spot all of the little intricacies, and they love that, and they're motivated by that. And the final one doesn't sound good, but it's just a bad name. There's nothing actually wrong with this player type. They're called killers. So they are the people that if you're playing a game, they would be the ones that want to get to the top of the leaderboard, not because they want to achieve like the achievers, but because they don't want anyone else to get to the top of the leaderboard. In a game scenario, they might kill the other people on their team because they want to get to the X, Y, and Z. And I've talked about this on podcasts before, and somebody said to me, well, I'm not a killer because I don't fit with any of the profiles, but I'm not a killer because I'm not killing, I'm not trying to achieve things in spite of all of the people. It's just one other person. So I said to them, you're a killer. I know so many people like that, where they'll play a game and they're normally an achiever personality. They want to achieve. But when a specific person is playing, I have to win this game so this other person doesn't win. It's the same thing. So when you're designing, these are the top level player types. I think there's 16 in total, but those are the kind of main ones. And like any personality framework, you'll be a bit of all of them, and you'll be different ones in different scenarios. And you might feel like you don't fit into any of them, and that's okay. But generally speaking, if you can create gamification that fits the kind of people in your particular audience and figure out, are they achievers? Are they socializers? Socializers are going to hate it if you put them up in competition against each other, but killers and achievers love that. So you need to figure out, like in your course launch, if you've got a community as part of your course, what kinds of personalities are in there? And you need to design to motivate those kinds of people, because if you put the wrong game elements in, you are going to switch people off, which means they're not going to get the most out of your course or whatever it is that you're doing. It's the opposite of what you want. Now, built in with all of that is what everyone talks about. And I shouldn't roll my eyes, but it's the first thing people say is, I want to make this more fun. I want to add more dopamine. I want to do X, Y, and Z. But fun is different for everybody. Motivation is different for everybody. And not everybody needs dopamine to get things done. So different people want different things. So that's the kind of personality side of it and the kind of psychological side of it. And there are lots of psychological different things depending on the game mechanic that you're using. Each one will have a different thing that it kind of switches on in your brain. But like anything with these things, a lot of it is test and learn, and a lot of it is common sense as well. So, people have come to me and they've said, I don't want to add gamification into my membership or my course or my free challenge, whatever it is, because I don't want to add a challenge in, for example. I know my audience hate that, and I think that's the only gamification there is with leaderboards and streaks. And so we redesigned their whatever project that was, to work for socializing as explorers, because we surveyed their audience and we found out that was the majority of the player types they had. You really need to think, actually, my gamification doesn't need to look like Duolingo. My gamification needs to look right for the kinds of people that we've got. So that's the personality psychological kind of side of it. Ethical gamification. This is my absolute bag. I love this. So a while back, I did a live video, and it's probably gone from Facebook now because they deleted them, where we played a game of Evil or Not Evil, where I talked about some of the big brands and how they'd use gamification. And I simply told the scenario, information that's freely available on the internet, and I asked the audience, do you think that's evil or not evil? Fun game. The thing is that in every scenario, it can be argued both ways. The big brand is doing what they think is right to motivate their staff, or motivate their team, or motivate their students, or motivate themselves to achieve X, Y, and Z. And you can't guarantee when you put something into the world how people are going to react, how it's going to actually work in practice, and the lengths people will go to achieve X, Y, and Z. And so in some of these scenarios, and some of these bigger scenarios, it was causing, actual physical problems for staff. It was causing sickness and all sorts of different things. Wasn't the intention. Whether or not the brands got consent of the people taking part beforehand would be my biggest question as to whether or not it's actually evil. I talk about gamification, ethical gamification all the time, and I start with consent. Are people signing up to this knowing what they're getting into? And you don't have to use the word gamification. Sometimes that puts people off. I have had people join my courses and my memberships and say, I'm not taking part in this gamification lark. It's not for me. Absolutely fine. Does not bother me. I'd rather that you get what you need to get out of this scenario. But having that consent, having that buy-in, making sure you really understand why they're there, what they want to achieve, and making sure that it's boundaried and that people can opt out of different things is really crucial, especially if you're going to do things like putting people to compete against each other. If you're going to do those kinds of challenges, things where people compete for prizes, make sure that it's opt-in, or give people a chance to opt out, and that it won't affect their final completion of their course or anything like that. It's beneficial to them. It will keep everybody happy and help them to achieve what they want to achieve at the end of the day. But the ethical gamification thing, it's so easy. Like, nobody sets out to be evil, as far as I'm aware, but it's so easy to think, I'm going to do this thing, it's going to be so fun. And then out of the end of it pops something that you weren't anticipating, and all of a sudden you look evil, and you were just trying to help everybody out. So you've just got to, I think the best way to avoid this really is always to do the minimum viable product thing. Trial things, test things, get people to have a go, and be honest with people about the fact that you're testing things, because if your intentions are good, that makes all the difference, I think, a lot of the time.
Much to dig into there. Before we go deeper, though, tell us more about Kimba Digital. Like, what do you do? What do you offer at Kimba Digital?
Okay, so gamification consultancy. We work with online course creators, online membership owners, people who launch those kinds of things. So that might be someone who runs online summits or online affiliate launches, online challenges, and social media. We do social media, gamified social media templates as well. But we work with those people one-to-one to improve what they've got in a way that makes sense for their audience. So people might say, as I've already discussed, Kimba, can you make my online course more fun? But fun isn't a business objective. So we'd have to dig into what's actually happening. Do you want more people to complete the course? Do you want more people to engage with your online community if you have a community as part of your course? Do you want more people to sign up or to convert from the end of it into upsells? Are you looking for more of them to give you testimonials without your input? What is the thing you're trying to achieve? And then we'll gamify that. But first we'll send them a survey, figure out who their player types are. Then we'll do the consultation part, and then they'll go away and implement that. So that's what we do. And we have, like I say, we have templates and things and we have a free Facebook group, the Big Business Game, as well. But our main bread and butter is working with people hand in hand to get those marginal gains, especially, if somebody's been running a successful course for a while and they're like, I'm at a point, or an online membership, we're at a point where we really need to do something, but we're not sure what. We think that gamification might be the answer. More than likely, we'll be able to help them.
That's great. I want to kind of talk to the person listening that's kind of new to all this.
Mhm.
So just to use a basic example, like in Lifter LMS, there's achievement badges that can be triggered. You can set them up to trigger off of certain things getting completed, like lessons or entire courses or passing a quiz and things like that.
Nice.
And I've always thought that achievement badging is underused, and you can be serious, you can be extremely funny and playful with it. Like I remember in MailChimp, it's not really a achievement badge, but right before you hit send on an email, there was like this nervous monkey thing that would happen. And I always just thought that was fun, but that's silly. So you can be serious or silly. Like if somebody's like, well, I don't know if achievement badges are for me, like what's another way for them to explore that avenue?
Do you mean to encourage them to use badges, or to look at a different?
Well, just badges, like to stay on badges, like
Okay, so I think that there's a natural. It's very natural for somebody to think gamification isn't for me, badges isn't for me, I'm not fun, or my business isn't fun, or my industry isn't fun. What I would say is, if your industry isn't fun and you start being fun, you're going to stand out. And if you're, like I said earlier as well, everyone thinks different things are fun. So you can make your badges thematic to what you do or who you are. So one organization that we worked with, the lady who ran it was a membership, but the lady who ran it was really into Disney. And so the thing that she was selling was nothing to do with Disney, but all of her audience knew she was really into Disney. So we themed everything in that membership, including things like badges and rewards, to be Disney focused. But it wasn't just any Disney focused. It was things like we made a little GIF of her like waving with like Mickey Mouse's, make it fun and silly, but related to either the brand that's running it or inside jokes. Inside jokes are great for the explorers. They love being part of an exclusive kind of community, and it also builds that sense of community as well, makes it stronger. It doesn't have to be all singing and dancing. It doesn't have to be posh. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you've got it already built into the LMS, then that's even better, because a lot of the work is done for you. And I think you can over badge. So start out small. If you're concerned, then you can always try and then take it away if it didn't work. And I would say a good place to start, absolute best place to start, is reward them for starting. It sounds so obvious, but it's the hardest thing to get started, especially with an online course. And so, reward them for the most minute step at the beginning, creating their profile or watching the intro video or whatever that might be, as a positive reinforcer. It's great for the achievers. It's great for those explorers who are looking for those kinds of little things as well. It doesn't have to be serious. It doesn't have to be patronizing. That's another thing I hear a lot, is people saying, oh, it's condescending. I'm an adult. Why would I want a badge? People, like the most surprising people, love a badge. Absolutely love it. So if you don't want to make it condescending, you don't have to do that either. It don't have to be a well done for doing it. It can be even a progress check-in. It can be you've created, you've done this. You can still say well done, you've done this first video, but it doesn't have to be you get an award for doing something minor. They don't have to see it like that. There's lots of ways that you can reframe it so it's still rewarding without being patronizing. But I would say, I've been doing this a long time. I've had lots of people come through. I don't have a membership open at the moment, but I have had 2 memberships for a long time. and courses. And of all of that time, I maybe count on one hand the amount of people who didn't like it or weren't interested in it once they got on board. I would just say give it a go. Honestly, it's if it's a tool that's already there and people aren't using it, Chris, I'm very, very surprised. They should be getting on it because it's an easy tick off box. And it's not something, it's not like competition or scarcity or FOMO that could be off-putting. A badge is just a badge. Like it's just a, it's like somebody giving you a bunch of flowers. It's not nobody's gonna be annoyed by that.
Yeah, that's awesome. The other context I wanted to talk to you about with courses, you mentioned gamifying events.
Mhm,
So if somebody's doing a cohort-based course and they're like
mhm,
delivering the sessions live on Zoom,
mhm,
with slides and talking head or whatever,
mhm.
how do you gamify while you're doing live delivery? Like, what could you do if you're doing, all right, in this week's lesson, we're going to get into X, Y, and Z. How do I gamify that in Zoom?
So we always bring it back to what is it that you're hoping to get them to achieve. So
Well,
I
let's
get
say the first thing we want to achieve is we want the people that signed up to come to the live class. Like we want a high attendance rate, number one. Number two, we want them to stay to the end.
okay.
And number three, we want them to do the worksheet or the action steps that come with the training for that week.
Okay, the easiest one to do to get them to do all three of those things is to offer them, if they only people who attend live have a chance of winning X,
The
that would be
giveaway.
revealed at the end.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you say, this is the winner, but we were going to give another one of you something if you do the homework. But the other thing that you can do, which I think we talked about when we met, Chris, actually, is hiding Easter eggs.
Yeah.
So I love doing this in live training. It's one of my favorite things to do to get people to pay attention all the way through. So if you're doing, I would never advise doing long training as part of courses. Chunking is really important, doing things in small doses, but sometimes you do have to do it, right? So if I was to do that, and I have done this before, I hide things in my background for people to find. And if I can, I change those things throughout. And I've done things before. I don't know if I've got a sign up here. No, I think I binned it. But like this wall is blank behind me for a reason, because I like to put posters there that say things that I like. What is the word? Subconsciously? No, it's where like they accidentally go into your brain when you're not paying attention. So if there's something that I've noticed that people in my course are all complaining about in terms of they don't understand it, or they don't know they have to do it, or maybe they're all struggling with something, I will try and put something up there that is to do with that. And maybe the first person to mention it, I will give them something. There are lots of things you can do with this. I actually did a gamification course once where I was the student, and every week they had a different letter in the background, and they had the bookshelves rearranged every time. And at the end of the course, you had to guess what it was that they were saying. I never worked it out, right? I consider myself to be pretty smart and I never worked it out, but lots of people did. And especially like that's going to really keep the attention of your explorers and your achievers and possibly your killers. The people who aren't going to be brought on board by that as socializers, they're not going to care about that. So it might be an idea to get them to buddy up with somebody to come to the call and say that they'll have to do the homework together. So it's almost a, in a nice way, a kind of guilt trippy, you should come along because your buddy's going to be there and you need to work on this together. There's lots of things you can play with, but I love an Easter egg. Absolutely. If you're going to do the rewards, if you're going to do the incentivizing, stay to the end and you can win X, make sure it's related to what they want to achieve. None of this iPad for the sake of an iPad, spa day for the sake of a spa day. If you're teaching IT, make it IT related. If you're doing knitting courses, make it knitting related. Make it related to something that will help them get the outcome they want to achieve. Does that make sense?
And it's a big thing in this community is people often build an online community on all kinds of different platforms to accompany the training. How do you gamify an online community to make the socializers happy?
Oh, that's a big question. There's lots of things you can do. There's lots and
Yeah.
lots and lots of things you can do. I would say The most simple thing would be build in some networking events. Really give them opportunities to get to know each other, because, you know, a forum or a Facebook group or wherever you're hosting that community is great, but there's only so much actual connection you can get from a profile picture. So set up networking events, and they can be online, opportunities, you know, a Friday coffee catch up, or opportunities for them to get together and chat through things. And I would mix them up. So I'd have some that were purposeful, some where you come in, there's an agenda, they're going to learn something, and then they get to socialize, which is going to attract your achievers, your killers. Some where you're going to reveal some big thing you hadn't talked about yet, which is going to attract your explorers. And then some that are just a coffee chat for the socializers. If they want to talk about the course, they can, but they don't have to. And you could even, yeah, that's a good idea. You could even, I'm giving myself part of the back, I haven't even told you what it is yet. So you could even praise some of your, you know, and reward some of your best students by giving the opportunity to host some of these sessions, which achievers, they get a title of being one of the best students and running a session. Yes, please. Socializers get the opportunity to run a session and have everybody know who they are. Yes, please. It's gonna be a great thing for a lot of people. That would be the first one. And I think that's going to help as well, because if any of those people post in the forum, post in the group, the people that have networked with them will recognize their name, will have an association with them, and will be more likely to interact with them in the group. And you might think, but that's not gamification. That's just setting up a networking event. Lots of people say that to me about lots of gamification. It's, like I say, it is a plethora of using the right tools to encourage the personality types to do the thing you want to do. And if you can get those people to be super happy in that community, they're going to share more, they're going to learn more, they're going to help each other more, and more of them will complete the course. So it's a massive win-win, which I talk about quite a lot. I'm not sure if that's the kind of thing you were looking for, Chris.
That was exactly what I was looking for. And I think I'm going to drop the hardest one on you here, but I'm probably wrong. You're probably going to pat yourself on the back again and with an answer for this one, which is, you know, there's courses and we talked about adding community, but let's say there's also like a private coaching aspect. So it's like an expensive, you know, offer that has a course plus coaching. How do we gamify the actual coaching aspect, which is just, you know, the expert and the client or the student? Can we gamify coaching either to encourage? You're probably going to say, well, what job are we trying to accomplish here? It's
Yeah.
probably the first level is they got to schedule their first coaching session and get it on the calendar, right? And then they got to show up, and then they got to take action on the coaching. So it's really similar, I guess, to the same thing with a live event. It's just one-on-one,
There's a
right?
few different things that you could do, and it really comes down to understanding the person you're coaching, because some of these are risky.
Yeah.
So somebody I know, once upon a time ran an event where all of the people who came along as an online thing needed to achieve something within a certain period of time. And so she said, this is the cost to come along. If you do all the things and get to the end, you get half of it back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
If you don't, I keep your money. So there is that as an option for the people who are, because not everyone is rewards focused. Not everyone is going to, you know, some people don't care. Like, you know, I'll give you a chocolate bar if you do this. Well, I can buy myself a chocolate bar. I don't care. So some people are much more stick than carrot focused. So that's a possibility. The other thing is a progress tracker. So these are things you've got to do. Tick box exercise, sending them a congrats, well done. It doesn't even have to be a congrats, well done. You've done 10% of what you need to do to get through this series of 6 coaching sessions. You know, the first 4 steps are onboarding. So those are things that you can do. It does really depend on who that person is. And I think for a lot of people, the hard part is going to be getting them not to turn up to the coaching, but getting them to do the things they said they were going to do. I think that's the hardest part, because people, you know, they want to turn up and have a chat with you, and they come away with all these ideas, and then they come off the call, and then they've got to deal with the kids, and they've got to make tea, and they've got to, you know, they've got other responsibilities, and all of a sudden these things come out of they aren't possible. So then you need to build in and I would do this in discussion with them, a system whereby either you add in accountability, and you could do that based on, again, on their personality type. So you could build an accountability where they buddy up with someone else to get that work done. You could build an accountability where if they do it by such and such a date and submit it to you, you'll review it for them. That could be for the achievers. Or if they do it by this date, you will feature them in your email list. That's a great one for killers and explorers, because the killers want to get it above everyone else, like if they get it in first, and the explorers want something that's exclusive. There's lots of little things you can do like that to motivate people. But at the end of the day, I think you also have to kind of accept that not everyone is going to do all the things. Life happens, things happen. Sometimes people can't do the things, but it's definitely worth having a conversation with those people and saying, look, we can try any of these things you want to try. What do you think is going to be most motivating for you? Because I want you to get the most out of this as possible. I talk about feedback quite a bit, and feedback isn't just one way. So, having the conversations, doing those surveys, having group conversations with people, just figuring out what works for them and what isn't working about what you're doing at the moment, because they might actually, I'm an achiever and I don't need any of those things that I've just suggested. If I've signed up to do coaching with somebody, I'm going to do the work because that's my nature. I want to get to the end of it, having achieved the thing. So yeah, it's a conversation and feedback. And then, there's probably a billion other ideas that I could throw your way, but there's a bunch just there.
I want to go a little bit macro and just look at what about introducing an entire game as part of a learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, we met at a conference and it was like a kind of bingo, and you had to find somebody who had a podcast, somebody who had a course about X, Y, and Z or whatever, and it filled out like a card, and then there was a drawing for the people that actually completed the card. So it was like a full game that those who wanted to participate, could win something. But more importantly, the job that it solved from my perspective was it helped people get the most out of being at a conference in terms of networking, talking to people, introduction to ideas, like maybe you should start a podcast or whatever, all that stuff. It was like a whole game within an event.
Yeah.
So tell us about that, creating a whole game that's part of a learning experience.
Yeah, I love this. So we do this quite a lot. We've done bingo as part of pretty much every course and launch that we've ever had, and we've done snakes and ladders as well. And trying to think what other things we've done, like things that are like similar than that, and like pick cards that give you tasks to do, automated card pickers. The main thing to think of when you're doing that is exactly what you said. So when Mike put together that bingo, he thought, what do the conference people want to get out of this? They want to network with other people. What do I want from this? I want people to network with other people, because then people get to know each other and they get what they want out of it, which means I'll be able to sell more tickets in the end. So when we build a bingo, if we're building it for a course, say, and what I would do is I would look at where in the course people are struggling, where people tend to fall off. And I would look at the feedback, because you've got to be surveying your people all the time and figure out, what they're struggling with, what they find boring at the moment. And I would be adding those things into the bingo. So I'd be giving them or the snakes and ladders or whatever it is that you do, and giving them a square for onboarding, and giving them a square for completing task 3, if that's the one that's really hard, giving them a square for helping someone else. What is it that it's a behavioral change thing is gamification. So what is the behaviors that you want them to change? Do you want them to engage more in the community if they have a community? Do you want them to ask publicly for help because none of them are, and then they fall off? What is it that you're hoping that they'll achieve? Are you wanting them to share when they've learned something new? Are you wanting them to submit coursework? Like, can you include those into the bingo card, but also include the things that they want to achieve? And that isn't, and this is something I say all the time, people don't all join your course to learn the thing that you're teaching. Some people will join your course because they want to network with other people. They're the socializers. But some people will join the course because they want to network with you, the person who's running the course. They want to be in a space and see how you run it. Some people will join your course because they want to be in a room with other people who can afford a course of that cost, because they think that might be their ideal customer. People will be there for all sorts of different reasons. It's not always just you're teaching me how to get leads from TikTok, so that's what I want to learn. They could be just looking at how you run a course, how you interact with your customers. They could be looking at all these sorts of things. So what can you build in to help people achieve different things within a remit? You don't want to give everyone everything away. That will help them to achieve what they want to achieve. So, the socializers, will it give an opportunity for them to network and get to know other people or help other people? And also some of the boring stuff that they have to do no matter what. So have you read the rules? Have you done that? They're quick, easy tick offs, but it means they've actually done it. And you can pair those up as well. So you could pair that bingo board up with a quiz. So you could say, or a form. So you could say, oh, you've done your bingo. Amazing. Here's the quiz for you to confirm your answers, so that you can kind of check that they're not just saying they've done it all. And then at the end, it can put them into a prize draw. You can elongate it and add things and add things and add things and add things, but always come back to what is the purpose of this? Don't over gamify, simplify it if you can. So if the bingo board on its own is enough, then just leave it at that. Yeah, there's loads of things you can do. There's lots of mini games you can do. Learning is really, really good match with gamification and games specifically. If you're trying to get them to learn new terms, you can get I don't know any off the top of my head, but there's loads of websites where you can make matching games where you match words to each other. They do that in Duolingo as well. There's lots of little game software and apps online which you can use to make your content more interactive, make it more fun. So it's not just 70 videos and PDFs. How can you break it up, especially if it's a concept that they need to embed? Repetition leads to retention, but that repetition doesn't have to be, here's another video saying the same thing. It can be, can I now, we showed you this 4 videos ago. Now here's a game for you to play to embed it. And then we'll add in something else later to embed it away again in a different format. Repetition really does lead to retention. So if you can mix that up, if you can add some novelty, it's going to work much better.
Question for you. I'm going to ask it in the nerdy psychologist way first, and then I'll ask it to you in plain language. So the nerdy way is, I see a big opportunity with helping transform courses where people have extrinsic motivation to intrinsic.
Mm-hmm.
So put simply, if somebody, let's say a nurse has to get 20 credit hours to keep their nursing license, they have to take it. So they sign up for their continuing education credit courses. How could one gamify that so that they no longer felt like they had to take it? They felt internally that they wanted to take it because it was fun, or maybe they don't even know why they like it now, but they've been captured by gamification in an ethical, positive way. And I think you've already covered a lot of the ways we could do that, but I just want to try to lay out a way for people who design training for people that have to take it to maybe get the benefit of pushing them over to they're motivated from the inside too.
Okay, this is a great question. The example that I love to give for the other way around, to play devil's advocate for a second, of adding gamification to something that somebody's already intrinsically motivated to do, is I'm going to eat chocolate. Okay, I like chocolate. If somebody says that if you eat chocolate every day for 30 days, at the end I'll give you 100 grand, I'm going to eat chocolate every day for 30 days. But then on day 31, there's no longer a reward. They're not gamifying it for me anymore. I'm probably not going to eat chocolate. I've eaten chocolate every day for the last 30 days, even though I like eating chocolate. So I would definitely not advise gamifying things that are intrinsically motivating, things that people are already naturally intrinsically motivated to do. The other way around is a question of, why should they care? And this is very individual.
Well, I would say with
Unfortunately.
the nursing example that they should care because the training is supposed to make them better nurses so that they can provide better care to the patients.
It's more of a, that five whys question framework where I'm sure everyone listening and watching this will have heard of it before, where you say, but why do you care about that? Why is that important to you? But why does it matter to you? And I think don't think this is a gamification answer. I think that this one is for you personally, as the person doing this course, what will happen if you don't take it? How will that affect your life? Like, why? So I would probably put together, I think that's what I do. I'd probably put together a survey first to ask him the five whys framework, really get in with that, or maybe have a conversation with them one-to-one. Depends how many nurses you've got to get through this course, right? And then I would build that into the program. So when they achieve the first lesson, at the end of it, I'd be like, that's amazing. Remember, you're doing this because your great granddad you promised him you'd be a nurse before you died. You're doing an amazing job. He'd be so proud of you. You're going to take that next video, right? If it's personal to you, you're going to do that next video. I would also say that if people who really want to do it and really want to be nurses aren't doing that course, even though they know it would be beneficial, there's something wrong with the course. And that means that gamification isn't going to help. You need to fix the problems with the course first. Maybe it's too long. Maybe it doesn't explain things properly. Maybe they don't have enough time to do it and you need to chunk it down much smaller than you originally thought. Maybe it's out of date. Maybe the software is glitchy. It could be a whole range of things. And as a gamification consultant, I shoot myself in the foot by saying this, but you sometimes need to fix the thing before you can gamify it. It needs to be working before it can be gamified. So if they're not intrinsically motivated to do it, maybe it shouldn't be an online course. Maybe there's an issue with the course. Maybe they need to be doing it in a different format. People learn in different ways. So it could be that nurses are hands-on people. Maybe they need to do hands-on training. Maybe an online course isn't going to work for them. And recognize that's not the answer you wanted, but unfortunately, sometimes that's the truth.
Well, that's a really important point because don't just start adding gamification, sort of like how people sometimes will just turn on a Facebook group and hope for the best. Like, what's the
Yeah.
strategy? What's the core issue? What are we doing? What jobs have to happen here?
Yeah.
Well, that's Kimba Digital.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us again, like how people can work with you. I know you've got some freebies available for the course building community. Where can people go who are falling down the rabbit hole of gamification and getting excited here?
Okay, thank you. So, kimberdigital.com is our website. We have a bunch of freebies. Go to the navigation bar and the freebies are there. But the one that's specific for course creators is 7 big mistakes that I see when people are trying to increase course completion. Specifically, I know a lot of people struggle with that. They have low course completion rates. It's just a PDF, but it's got lots of interesting things. So it's got what I see the issue is, what you should do instead, and then a question you should be asking yourself. So it's much more than just down a list. Like, it's not a blog post. It's quite interesting. We also have a quiz, which you can find on there as well, and our free group, The Business Game, on Facebook, where we talk all things gamification and business. It's not just course focus. There's lots of different people in there using gamification for interesting things. So definitely worth checking that out. And we are Kimba Digital everywhere, like all the platforms, all the social places. Come and say hello. And it'll be lovely to see you there.
Awesome. Well, Kimba, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been an awesome conversation. You out there watching or listening, head on over to kimbadigital.com. Check it out. Connect with Kimba. But thank you so much, Kimba, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris. It's been loads of fun.